All right, welcome to the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, where we drink booze, have beards, and talk books. This is our weekly short read tall glass episode, where we chat about the latest book news, as well as doing a deep dive on our short story of the week, which this week is A Flawless Silence by Yiyun Lee. I'm Bob of TalesbyBob.
And I'm Derek of nothing.
Chest congestion.
Head congestion. Insomnia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this week, because there is a reference, like I try and pair the drink with a reference from the story, I mentioned wine. Well, the thing is, I know fuck all about wine.
Yeah.
But they said it was a nice bottle of wine, so I said that you should go out and get a nice bottle of wine and treat yourself.
You can also go to certain websites, I forget which one, but since this is kind of coming out of left field for me, but there are places that you can go and look up, like, if you like this flavor of regular beverage, it tells you which types of wines you might like.
Yeah.
Because I found ones that were like, do you like lemonade? It's like, then you'll like these because they're tart. I'm like, yes, I would.
The only wine I like is Moscato.
I like a lot of different ones, but I like Riesling.
My motto, Moscato. Get them digits from your mama for $1 tomorrow.
No.
Okay. As for what we're drinking, I'm treating myself. I don't have anywhere to be for once after this. I'm treating myself to some Gentleman Jack.
Want to come watch anime with us?
I was thinking about it.
You should.
Is that coffee I smell in that coffee cup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've made some coffee. I actually got a new different type of coffee that I've been wanting to try since the writing retreat, where I forgot all of my filters at home, so I couldn't actually make coffee, which broke my heart.
I don't drink coffee and never had coffee, so it's not typical that you come to my house and get coffee.
Yeah, well, so I took my coffee maker, my new coffee, everything over to Bob's house. Forgot the actual
filters.
So I'm trying it today, and I just remembered that I had it.
Yeah.
So it was.
Is it all you dreamed it'd be?
I haven't tried it yet. It's still cooling down. So
okay.
You know what? Hold on.
And
it's nice and strong.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the way I like my coffee. So
good. Well, I'm just having some straight warm Gentleman Jack because someone doesn't have ice.
Neat. You could have put the rest of it in the refrigerator so that if you drink more.
Be a good man, and if you could tuck that in the freezer for me, please. Yeah, thank you. All right, so that's what I'm drinking. Diving right into the news, you would think that me and Derek would kind of plan these episodes ahead, and I do have like a checklist that we each take and fill out ahead of time, but we don't actually talk about it. So we both picked one of the same bits of news, which was the Association for Library Service to Children, a division of the American Library Association, has voted to take Laura Ingalls Wilder's name off of their highest award. The reason being, her books are a product of their time and are today a bit insensitive. And they were basically not coming out and condemning her. Like, they weren't like, oh, fuck her kind of deal.
Like that,
but they were like, this is their highest award. They'd rather it be not tainted. And because there is some fuckery in there, don't get me wrong, but taken in context, there's much worse out there.
Yeah.
But I think this was a good call on their part.
I guess they are for much younger people, right?
They are for kids. And like here was a really great quote. This woman, her name was Caroline Fraser, and she wrote "Prairie Fires: The American Dreams of Laura Ingalls Wilder." She argued that just because it's racially insensitive doesn't mean that kids shouldn't read it. Each generation revises the literary canon. While the answer to racism is not to impose purity retroactively onto or to disappear titles from shelves, no 8-year-old Dakota child should have to listen to an uncritical reading of Little House on the Prairie, she wrote. I thought that was the correct take.
Yeah, the thing I read was they were like, some people were basically saying they weren't entirely sure they agreed because they were basically because of that. It's like pretend it doesn't happen. That gives you a really good opportunity to talk about this stuff.
But I think that's like, I think the Library Association made it clear they're not calling for these books to be removed. And I think to me,
the name of the award is fine. I think
my thing is like,
it's not like they're trying to get that taken out of the library,
right? And so now the award, I'm all for
normally
this.
I would be like, this is some nonsense, but
no, it's now called the Children's Literature Legacy Award,
which I think is a good name anyway.
Yeah. So and it's as well as Dill's like, why not name it something a little better, something about remove the taint.
Except for she did a lot of really good stuff for children's literature, I assume. That was why she was originally the name of that. So
they made it into a TV show.
Well, I know, but I feel like they should do something to honor her literary achievement.
I think they made her into a TV show. I don't think you can get honored much more than that. Honored with them dollars.
I'm finna throw this coffee in your face.
What's your news?
Oh, right.
No, wait. You have one piece of news?
Yeah.
I have two. I have four, actually, so I'm going to do another one. Then
Go ahead.
do yours. All right. For those who don't know, I have a general disdain for the country of Wales.
It's going to be good to lead into what I have to say.
Oh, good. So get this. They just crowned their book of the year.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, it was...
And Bob counted how many Y's was in it, and he is absolutely apoplectic.
Well, there's no Y's, but the guy's last name is Robert Menhennick, which has 3 N's and 3 I's in one last name.
Weird.
But he won the overall prize for Diary of the Last Man, which was inspired across a changing Britain, a walk across a changing Britain. But yeah,
that sounds interesting.
According to the Nielsen figures, it sold 202 copies. Now, let's see. The dispute emerged as official figures showed almost half of the books shortlisted for the Wales Book of Year Award had sold fewer than 100 copies.
Yeah. I wish you guys could see the look on Bob's face.
The best-selling book had sold almost 4,000 copies. That was the best-selling book. Now, they were like, people came, Nielsen doesn't track every sale, it doesn't track, like indie bookstores. Yeah, okay, no, that's fair. It doesn't track indie bookstores. Okay, cool. What it does track is things like, I don't know, fucking Amazon.
Which is where the vast majority of things... Okay, it's cool. So you can add 50 books to it, generously.
Well, and they were like, but best case, let's say Nielsen missed half of all the sales.
Yeah.
You're now at 404 copies. For fuck's sake.
Get together, Wales.
There were some that have sold as few as 20 copies. I have sold 20 copies of one of my ebooks.
I was going to make that joke when you first said that.
But it's like, what the fuck? Come on. If you're a writer, you can find 20 fucking friends to buy your book.
Get together.
God damn. All right. So, get together, Wales. All right. That's all. That's what I had there.
So, as much as you dislike Wales, I think you like Scotland.
Yeah, I do. I'm fond of Scotland.
There's apparently, I just learned this, and this is what my bit of news is, there's a bookstore in Scotland, in Wigtown, which is their national book town.
Wigtown?
W-I-G town.
Okay.
Yeah. It's their national book
town.
Like book towns we talked about.
Sounds
way
like
back
Wigtown has its head on straight.
So anyways, Wigtown, it's basically a book town, so there's a ton to do with
We've talked about those in the past.
Yeah, super cool. There's actually a bookstore called, I think it's the Open Book, if I can read my terrible handwriting, that you basically Airbnb it and can rent it out by the week.
Yeah.
An apartment over the bookstore, and you run the bookstore while you live there.
I think I've heard of that place.
It's super cool.
Oh, that's cool.
And I read an article about a person who had to beg, cheat, and steal to get a single day there because it's booked through 2021.
Nice.
And just sounds super cool. It's like as soon as you start living there, you are in complete control. Like you can decorate it any way you want. You can have whoever you want come in as a speaker.
Yeah.
You can sell things in whatever way you see fit. Anything. And since it's in a book town, people go there all the time.
Right.
So it's super cool.
I like it.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah. My next bit of news is booze news.
Booze.
If y'all, it's actually one tiny snippet. First off, Jack Daniel's is increasing its price 10% in Europe. Tariffs. I saw your question. Look,
no, you didn't. You saw my slow realization and anger.
The EU is putting a tariff on bourbon. 25% tariff on bourbon. Yeah.
If I could
Tariffs are the fucking dumbest thing ever.
The worst thing ever.
Yeah.
If I could go, like, forever without ever hearing that word again, that'd be great.
You know, had you ever really heard it before in your lifetime?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
You know what, honestly,
in history books when they were like, oh,
exactly.
Listen to this stupid shit
here.
Yeah,
it was, exactly. Like, you know what the only thing I've ever heard of a tariff being used correctly for? Was like when they were trying to be a dick to somebody to prove a point before coming to the negotiation table. Yeah. That's it. Ugh. That is it. Anyway. They're not good. You know what?
Yeah. Not going there. Right,
this
anyway.
This whole episode's going to be a problem for me, Bob.
Probably.
This whole episode.
All right, so the main piece of booze news is the Barton 1782, I think, distillery had one of their rick houses. It's called where you store bourbon. It's called a rick house. Had one of their rick houses, or maybe their rick house. It wasn't entirely clear, but it was definitely their rick house. I don't know if they have more than one, but it collapsed. 9,000 barrels of bourbon. Here's the best quote ever. Best quote ever.
There's nothing good about this, Bob.
No, this quote is good. With this in mind, you'll also agree that the 9,000 barrels of bourbon that crashed into oblivion on Friday in a warehouse in Kentucky add up to the greatest loss to humanity since the burning of the Library of Alexandria.
You know what? I 100% agree. That, you know, by the way, that is my favorite quote from the story that we read, which is, there wasn't one, so that's my favorite.
That's your quote?
That's
I love that quote. God, it was so good. But yeah, they lost a ton of, they're going in now to trying to see if they can recover some of the barrels, but a bunch of it, like so much of it went into the nearby stream that it killed a bunch of fish, which, I mean, it never really occurred to me that, like, fish can't live in bourbon. But, yeah, spoiler, fish can't live in bourbon.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
My last, you know what we never talked about on here for the books, beards, booze? Beards. We never really talk about beard news. I got some beard news.
Oh, so that's the...
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've got to start working in beard news.
Yeah.
I can totally do that.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm just going to start looking at people's beards and be like, here's how I would describe this beard. I give it an A+.
Well, get this. Bryce Harper of the Nationals shaved his beard.
Why?
Yeah, there's a conspiracy theory about that. But it's the first time since 2013. And he played like shit as soon as he did it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, of course he did.
Samson.
Yeah. He went 0 for 7. Yeah, it was... And against,
this is Bryce Harper, right?
Again, Bryce Harper, dropping his batting average on the season to .212, which is not good. I'm not a baseball guy, and that's not good.
No, it's not.
But, so, he was doing it against the Yankees. Mm-hmm. All right? Well, I didn't know this, but the Yankees have traditionally forbidden their players from having facial hair or long hair of any kind. And apparently, he is coming up on, like, free agency or whatnot.
I'm well aware. It's going, no!
First off, I wish the entire Yankees organization would catch fire. Go Braves. Fuck the Yankees.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the Nationals, but Bryce Harper, I appreciated the beard. And let this piece of news show you, don't shave your fucking beard.
God.
Yeah. So that, shaved his beard, played like shit. Moral of that story.
If he ends up in New York,
they were saying they probably wouldn't because they just signed that huge contract with Juan Giancarlo, who is killing it. But yeah. So, final bit. Derek, what's the news with Doors of Stone?
There is none. There's never any. It makes me so sad.
All right. Well, an homage to another podcast that I like, Look Good, Feel Good. Here's our commercial for the day. Kelly's Sausage is the best sausage made in Alabama, and we are a state that loves its sausage. There is nothing I love more than to have a few adult beverages and then cook up a pack of their smoked goodness. As this happens pretty much weekly at Carcosa, you can tell I'm a fan. Because I am. I've eaten a disturbing amount of their sausage product. All right. So let's tackle our story, A Flawless Silence by Yiyun Lee. I would like to point out that normally when it's a story that like it's of questionable quality, it's a me pick, but this was definitely a Derek pick.
Yeah, this was definitely me. And I was like reading it last night.
Yeah. As
you walked through my office, right. I almost went, can we just not?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad, but it's I had to read it twice and do some research on the internet to get any kind of appreciation for it, and that's the biggest problem. One of the many problems with this story. Okay. Well, let me knock out my favorite line real quick. Humiliation would not bring people closer. I liked that line. Yeah. That's a good line, and I had to think about it for a minute. I was like, wouldn't it though? But no, it wouldn't. Not really. Not in that context. It wouldn't. So
my whole thing. Okay, that quote aside.
Okay, so here's the biggest problem with the story. The whole politics issue is unnecessary to the story and clouds the story.
Yeah.
She could have told that story using any number of points of argument, but she chose that, and it just doesn't fucking work.
Thought it was only me that was going to think that, and that's why I almost didn't want to do it, because I was like, I don't want to bring politics into this.
Yeah, we're not going to talk politics about this, but if you haven't read the story, you should. But it's she brings politics into the story, and it just doesn't work. It it clutters it up.
Here's the thing: what did work about it? You know, because I don't really know. Because while I was reading it, I was like, I had no problem with the way it was written. I thought it was pretty easy, pretty airy. Like you just kind of breeze through it and get what's going on. Which a lot of the times the things that I like, that's not the way it's written. But I can appreciate it from time to time. So I really appreciated that it was an easy read, and we were just rolling through it. But I just didn't feel like there was anything.
Okay, so after some reading on the internet, reading people smarter than me, or people who do this for a living, the whole story is about resistance.
Yeah.
And basically, as I've taken it now after reading all this stuff, the whole point of the story is to show that Min is slowly changing. She's kind of taken her own agency over the way her life is, and so it's called A Flawless Silence because she's always thought to be the perfect was to be that perfect daughter, that perfect wife, that perfect mother. It was that silence, and that's what she's done her whole life. She's always remained silent. She's never really pushed the issue.
Right.
And but at the end, when she actually tells the old man not only to please stop writing, but to go to hell. This wasn't brought up, but this is kind of my read on it. Was I think that she's blamed that guy, the professor, for her life being such shit. Mm-hmm. She was pushed so hard against him that she rushed into this thing with Rich, and she's been kind of silently just taking all this shit, just she thought she was taking the high road kind of deal, but really she's been blaming him her whole life, and I think she's lashing out finally.
Yeah.
And something that someone said, I wish I could remember who it was, but if you Google this story, there's an academic article that was written. You'll find it's on the first page. Mm-hmm. But the person made the point of she has done a form of resistance now. The next time will be easier.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. It'll build. And when it was talking about how she thinks about knocking over the wine bottle, they're talking about that. That's it's showing she's at least having the thoughts kind of deal. So here's the biggest problem. All right, that's the point of the story. You have to fight so fucking hard to find that out.
Yeah.
You it's not worth the payoff. Like, okay, now you kind of get what the story's
Especially
about. Was it worth it?
Especially
no,
since,
not really.
Here's the thing. I'm reading this whole... And this is the thing we have a conversation about a lot when we're talking about our writing. And it comes down to, like, characterization. Mm-hmm. And it's not as important for a short story, in my opinion, because you're not going to spend a ton of time with them. But I didn't like the character.
The first read, I didn't like it. The second read, it kind of clicked for me. Like, I think she's, like, critically depressed.
I'm aware.
Like, the fact that, like, she's completely disassociated from her life. Like, the fact, like, the way she was talking about, like, how she would be relieved if Rich had taken her kid and everything.
I get all of that.
And so, like...
But that doesn't make me like her.
Well, that didn't make me like her, but it made me kind of relate to her more. Like, made me kind of understand her a little bit more. Like, this chick needs therapy. Bad.
Yeah.
Well, everyone in this story needs therapy. Like, everyone. And I'm talking from the kids to every adult needs some therapy. But then I think pretty much at this point everyone needs therapy. But she also talks about, like, how she gets, like, secret pleasure knowing that her daughters are going to grow up rebellious to him. I was actually with that, though, because the way Rich acts is not healthy.
No.
At all. And so the men being comfortable with the fact that her daughters were going to grow up and rebel against that, I'm cool with that because it's a rebellion against a bad thing kind of deal. But I don't know how effective it's going to be because she talks about her son, Max, I think. Mm-hmm. Max rebelled as well against a much angrier dad, but she talks about how about how Rich and Max would agree on all these things, you know.
Yeah. My thing was when I read that, I don't remember exactly why, but I remember reading that, her wishing that or like having a sadistic glee, kind of looking forward to the fact that I was like, that's so fucked up.
Where I thought it was fucky was the way she talked about how, you know, when Emmy's just going to emotionally react back.
Yeah. That
Deanna, it's going to be more calculated and cruel, and that was like, oh, damn. Yeah. That's fucky. But I agree with her overall sentiment. But I mean, at the end of the
whole thing, I just couldn't get behind anything anyone did at all in the entire story.
And you know, honestly, I think a large reason for that is in our currently hypercharged political situation, she threw politics into the story, and it obfuscates the story she's trying to tell. It's, if you've listened to this, it's no secret I'm not fond of Trump.
Me either.
But spoiler, I wasn't fond of Hillary either.
Me either. What you mean we're like most of the country?
Right. But like, pick something else as your point of contention here. And like, I don't know, you could be something as simple as like the school board.
Yeah,
like,
anything.
Replace it with a school board, but like every time it meant like, it felt like the election just happened and she felt compelled to write a piece about it. But it doesn't say anything important about the state of politics and elections to me. Not that I read.
To me, my problem was, and it honestly, like you said, obfuscated a lot of it. It's just like, look, I understand you may not agree with Republican points, but like the only people in this that are considered quote unquote Republicans are the worst person in the story.
Yeah. And
then a child who they're like, oh God, please don't pretend, don't let anyone. It's like,
yeah,
it's not like, guys, calm down. I don't like demonizing one side of anything completely. It's like, come on, guys, this is.
Well, if it's any consolation, in my reading, that someone who did I think somebody who does like a bookie club kind of deal, like suggested this story, and I went and read the comments.
Well, see, that's why I picked it. I found a recommendation.
The comments on this were like, "Hey, yo, she shit the bed on this one, but normally she's real good."
Like I said,
so like that. There were some people who just trashed it, and like it's like if I had to give it a number, like I don't know, like it's not trash, like, but it took me 2 reads and internet research to get what she was going for, which I don't know. Sometimes it can be a little obtuse, but like, like I don't know. I mean, it's okay, like a 5 maybe. I don't know, but like
I got where it was going.
If she replaced any of the current political wranglings talk in there with something more.
And honest to God,
more benign,
here's the thing.
I probably would rate it much higher.
I understand the build to the resistance and everything, but I still don't think it was done well. I think it was too little, too minor, and too little.
I'm okay with that because you got to think she's been this way her whole life, and like she didn't even resist like. When, like, the thing she wanted most, like, to get divorced, she didn't even resist then. She just she doubled down and had more kids. Like, the fact that she's now finally, she's put up with this fucking weird old professor dude for years now, and she's just now finally getting up the gall to tell him to fuck off. I have hope that by the time, like, that the kids are in, like, going off to college, that she will have formed enough resistance by that point to leave.
I'm not even talking about her actions. I'm talking about the way her actions were shown to us.
Yeah.
Like, you could have written it in a way that more accurately... what's the phrase? Oh, crap, I can't remember it, but it's basically you exaggerate to clarify.
Oh, okay.
So, like... the action itself, like what the character does, you don't like make them do something more outrageous to prove the point.
Yeah.
However, the way you show them
that
doing it,
I think is again, that's not a. I think to a degree she did that. It just doesn't show up. It's like if you had 2 heart rate monitors on someone, where one person was having a heart attack and one person was just lightly excited. Yeah. You don't see it as much because there's all this drama with politics going on. Like, I think if it had been a little more benign, like, her actions might stand out slightly more than this whole drama of Kevin's a Republican.
Which is the worst thing he would be.
And I mean, that is a flaw in the writing. I mean, but it's not a flaw in the necessarily the crafty craft, the nuts and bolts craft. That's more of a plotting problem. Just like she put in an unnecessary element that just kind of shit the bed.
I still think there's a slight problem. I think like I said, the majority of the craft I thought was good because I liked the way it was written.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I think I would like to read more of her stuff because apparently some of her other stuff is weird too. Like, she writes some weird shit apparently. Like, someone's like, yeah, this isn't weird at all. And like, normally the stuff I've read of her is just kind of weird. So. But she's written like two collections of short stories and like 2 novels.
A little weird. The fucking random ass professor just going psycho. That was kind of weird.
That.
Like, I didn't I get people are weird. People do weird shit, but like, you know, like once, and then he just kind of like latched on and was just like.
Well, it's because he wanted her to marry him.
No, I got that, but that's just out of left field. Like, it's literally the first time they met. Like, what the hell?
I think it was...
And then he still stays locked on with her and sending her emails for, like, 20 years?
Well,
super fucking weird.
You got to think how old...
they reconnected. That's right.
Yeah, they reconnected.
Never mind then.
But, like, because he met her twice. Because, like, he met with her to, like, oh, hey, I'm going to set you up with a son.
Yeah.
But until then, come to my lessons.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't go. And so then he comes back. It's like... You never came to my lessons. She's like, well, that's because I'm not going to marry your son. Like, oh, well, I'll give him to you anyway. He's just trying to get her.
No, I get that. It's like, I'm just saying it's not even that.
But
it's just
it's one
how
of those
extreme he went and like the delusion that was so built in so quick.
I get it though. I envision this guy as a Chinese neckbeard.
I know, no, I do get it, but that's my point. That's kind of weird. It was pretty weird.
It was, yeah.
So that was
But
that was my whole thing. Because when I was reading, I was like, "This is weird. Is this going somewhere I don't want it to?" And I was like, "Is it implying something here?"
Yeah.
And I don't think it ever did. I think.
I mean, he definitely had it for her. But like the older he gets, you got to think probably I imagine everyone else probably told him to fuck off.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was necessarily obsessed with her. Just by this point, everyone else has probably blocked him, telling him to fuck off, and so now he's 84 and. Finally, someone tells him to go to hell.
It was just weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. Yeah,
that was my whole thing. I was like, because there's a couple of times with the way.
Well, I haven't read any of her other stuff, so I don't know how weird she gets.
There's a couple of times where the way way it was written and the way I was reading it, like it mentions like how close they're sitting and how he brushed her. I was like, oh no, oh please don't tell me this is gonna end up being like, oh yeah, and then he like raped her or something. I was like, that's where I thought it was going, and it didn't. I was like, oh no, good. But then I kind of thought, I was like, am I sure that it wasn't? Okay, it wasn't. It wasn't. Okay. I came to the conclusion it wasn't. But I was as I was reading, I was like, oh no.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I think I would like to read another story by her.
Yeah.
Just to.
Yeah, give her. I think we read her worst story. Is kind of what it seems like. Anywho, next week we are reading A Death by Stephen King.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I haven't read this one, I don't think. I've read most of Stephen King, but I don't think I've read this. Maybe I have, I don't know. I don't recognize the name, though. Anywho, again, this is week 13. As we said last episode, we're doing 14 weeks, and then we're taking a break of 2 weeks to figure out a new recording method, but you will still be getting podcasts. We have bonus podcasts saved up for that. But we want to hear from y'all. What you like, what you don't like, what you want more of, what you want less of. So email us at booksbeardsbooze at gmail.com or hit us up on social media. Anything TalesbyBob, you comment on it, the message will get to me, and I will address it. All right. Until next week, I ask you to go forth and grow a great beard.